Okay. Now, because we are going to be speaking about money, it's just important that I have this disclaimer because I am not a financial consultant. I am not um, giving any financial advice or any investment recommendations. This is just for education and information purposes only. And what I will be delivering to you. I hope I can do it in a clear enough way that you could be able to make an informed and educated decision as we go along. Our topic that we're going to be speaking about is design your own financial future. Now, that's a very profound idea to be able to design your own financial future. If I can just let that settle in your heart for a minute, just the possibility that we can actually design our own financial future is suggesting that we must have the wherewithal and we must have the say to be able to choose, to be able to design. We have to have that posture to be able to be the architects in determining what that future will be. And so if you're going to be building something, then it speaks of a design. And if we're talking about our future, then we're speaking about uh, the very more immediate to the future of our lives to build something that will last. And so, is it indeed possible that the average person today can actually design their own financial future to just what they want it to be? I want us to know that this is indeed possible, and I'm going to show us how the reality of it and the possibility of it exist. And it happens because we can own the value that creates it. And that is the key. The design is just the blueprint, but the pathway that's going to take us there is being able to own the value that creates it. And it's not so much about having more money, although that's obviously part of it, but it's owning that which gives money its value because we know that money is just a store of value. But that which gives money its value, we need to be able to own that. And so we're talking about looking at a system for building sustainable wealth. And so as we get into this, I want to begin by looking at a context for understanding and begin with something that we're all familiar with. We're going to be looking at three economic realities that shape our lives. And the first one is the plantation economy. This economy is one where our income is based primarily on our effort. This is where we trade value and labor for money. This is where we work for money. This is where we find ourselves caught in a cyclical routine where we go through the motions of everyday existence and not make much progress. It is an environment, an economic environment where financial security is very fragile because if we are unable, for whatever reason, to put out any effort, our income will stop for most people. And if income stops, if effort stops, then is that really freedom that we do have? Hence the term plantation economy. The term plantation economy also comes from that the value that all who's participating in this economy, the value that we bring to it with our expertise, our skills, our knowledge, our creativity, all of our labor and efforts, the value that we bring, that value is often what it's worth is often determined by a central authority and not, we don't get to own our own value to say what we think it's worth. And so the value flows to the authorities that own the systems that we work within, that own the infrastructure that we're working within, that own the assets of those systems. Those few, the 5% that own the systems and the infrastructure which we work within, those are the ones that get to determine what our value is. And so we make a living, we survive, and we just depend on the system. If living in this economy, there is no way that we can achieve true financial freedom. Because in this system, there is little to no ownership. Therefore, there is no equity that we have that we can build on. If we want to design our financial future, while this is where most of us live, we need to move beyond this. Within this economy, there is a select few that live within their own economy. We call that the sovereign economy. And this is where revenue is based on ownership. In most cases, those that own the assets, own the systems, and own the infrastructure are the ones that determine what happens in the plantation economy. This is what the wealthy understand, that by owning assets, owning systems, and owning infrastructure is the pathway to building wealth, because your revenue is not based on your effort. Your income is based on the assets that you own that creates that value. Wealth accumulates over time because your assets continuously produce that value, whether you work or not. So then your revenue is all asset driven. And over time, wealth can be created. Now, in this economy, we have more freedom of time, money, and potential. And this is where a hidden layer that is necessary to design our financial future and make it in a sustainable way. There's a hidden feature inside of here that is more accessible when you get to the sovereign economy. And that is being able to build our own personal growth and empowerment, because we cannot build sustainable wealth without building our own personal value. And so these two economies, there is a big gap between them. There's a big gap of inequality. We often hear it, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. And if we are going to get to the point of owning our financial future, whereby we can design it, our financial security, we need to be able to get to the sovereign economy. Now, it is mathematically and structurally impossible, based on economic structures, for the majority in the plantation economy to make it to the sovereign economy. There are the exceptions that do. But what I'm going to introduce us to now is a new economy that emerges out of these two. It's called the ecosystem economy. The ecosystem economy emerges by virtue of the innovation of technology. We are living in a technological age now that is the momentum is beginning to accelerate because of the type of technology that is evolving. And so the ecosystem economy is one that is driven because of technology. Today, we live in a world that is, recently, Suzanne, my wife, and I, we went to Austin, Texas, and going through the airport, we wanted to get a cup of coffee, and we stopped. We ordered coffee on a screen, and the coffee was made and served to us by a robot. We went downtown Austin, and if we needed an Uber to get around, we went to our phone, we got an Uber, a car pulled up, and there was no driver. We're living in a different world of technology today. And then over the next few years, the world that we're going to live in, it's not going to be recognizable what it looks like today. But when it comes to finance, the world of the technology and the innovations has created what we call an ecosystem economy, where our participation and ownership creates equality. That big gap between the rich and the poor and the inequality becomes dissolved inside this economy. Everyone that participates in it, they own, they prosper. And the value that is brought into this economy by all who participate in it, that value circulates back to everyone who participates in this economy. And therefore, everyone succeeds. Ownership is accessible to all. This is an economy where it is open and there is financial inclusion. In the first two economies, there is what they call the unbanked, billions of people around the world that have no access to the financial systems of the world. In the ecosystem economy, there is financial inclusion. The unbanked can now have access to financial tools that can help them to begin to build their financial future. In this ecosystem economy, because of technology, it is a decentralized system, a decentralized environment, meaning there is no central authority that governs over how the systems and infrastructure functions, making it possible for everyone to be able to participate and for everyone to be able to own. And that dissolves that big gap between the rich and the poor. It levels the playing field. In this economy, ladies and gentlemen, everyone, and I mean everyone who participates in it, will succeed financially. Not necessarily equally, because it's based on individual participation, based on one's own goals and aspirations, etc. And so, in the ecosystem economy, this is where we get to design our own financial future. This is where we get to say how we can create that and what it's going to be. And this is what I want to share with us today, how each and every one of us, because it is inclusive, because it is decentralized, because it embraces the principles of the best of the plantation and the sovereign economy, we all can come to a place where we can succeed. And so the traditional systems, it concentrates value to a few. In this unified system, value circulates. And just of the point of interest, ecosystem economies, ecosystems are interconnected and unified systems. This is what the future of economies are going to look like because of the innovation of technology. And so, what makes this possible and what makes it work is because within an ecosystem economy, and particularly the one that I'm going to be sharing with us, there are 5 economic laws of sustainable wealth that pertains to any and every economy that exists and would ever exist. And this simply says that law number 1 is value must be created. And so each of us, we bring that value to the economy with our own skills, knowledge, etc. We solve problems, we meet the needs, whatever our value is. But we need to be able to own that value. In many cases, because of the plantation economy, we don't get to own it. But once we get to own it, which is law number 2, ownership of our value, where we get to say how that value grows and increases. Or we get to own assets and systems that generate value, and we must get to say how that value is to grow and increase. It's important if we cannot get to law number 2, where we have the say in how it is to grow and expand, then we cannot access the other laws and we cannot and will not be able to design our financial future. So once we get to law number 2, ownership, where we own that value, it naturally flows into law number 3, which is leverage. Leverage is how we are able to take that value and increase it by using resources or using systems to leverage that value and increase it and scale it, but without increasing effort. This is what we call passive income. Income that increases and come in without additional effort. Law number 3 naturally flows into law number 4, which is that increased productivity begins to accelerate in such a way that it begins to endure and multiply over time. It's called compound growth. Albert Einstein called it the eighth wonder of the world. Now, once we begin to accelerate and it becomes enduring, over time, what takes it through and makes it sustainable is the law of stewardship, law number 5. And law number 5 simply says that all the value that has been built and expanded and increased, it now becomes allocated and distributed back to the participants that brought it in the first place. And so what we have is a self-sustaining loop where the increased value here flows back to the beginning and it goes through the cycle again. And so what we have is a self-sustaining loop of continuous growth and increase taking place. Sustainable wealth is the flow of value secured by ownership, expanded through leverage, and accelerated by compounding, and it is preserved through stewardship. Anywhere you find these laws, which are inseparable and interconnected, they are immutable as gravity. You throw an object up, it will fall. That's the law of gravity. These laws, when they come together, there's only one thing that will happen: wealth will be created. And the ecosystem economy that I'm going to be sharing with us is built on these laws. So owning the value of your financial future within this ecosystem is brought to the world by a company that has global reach called Metaterra. Meta meaning beyond and transcendent, terra meaning the earth or the world. And Metaterra is taking the world of finance beyond what we know it to be because of this technology age that we are in. They're shaping the future of digital finance. The future of the global economy is digital. We see that happening everywhere. For those of us who may not quite be aware, because there are many people sleepwalking into this, we need to open our eyes because it is the banks all over the world, from the IMF to the World Bank, to the major banking systems across the world, to the SWIFT network, they're all upgrading their systems to accommodate a new level and a new era of digital finance that's going beyond what we know it to be today. Metaterra is the parent company of several companies, one of which is their primary agency of how they're bringing this technology to the world through their agency called Bellator. Bellator is a financial technology gateway to the Miracle ecosystem. And this is the ecosystem that you and I can participate within, that's built on principles that will allow us to be able to live and function, bridging the old world of traditional finance and the new world of digital finance in such a way that we can get to determine how we're going to shape our financial future. I hope everyone has followed me thus far. So Metaterra is our parent company. Bellator is the fintech agency, the gateway to accessing the Miracle ecosystem, which is going to be the focus of what we're going to be talking about. So, ladies and gentlemen, know that we are evolving into a future of digital finance that is reshaping the next chapter of humanity. I want us to be aware that this is not just about monetary policies and forms of money and currencies changing. This is going to change the way the entire world is going to be functioning. Why? Because we have seen last year, there's been new regulations, the Clarity Act, the Genius Act, federal laws that was signed in to place last year here in the United States that has now catapult things to where today. In fact, this month, April 1st, this month, the Office of the Controller of Currency, which is the federal agency that regulates all the national banks here in the United States, they have all opened the door and given authority to all the banks to begin custody and of both cryptocurrency and digital assets. When we talk about digital currency, we're talking about cryptocurrencies and the whole spectrum of that. The major banks, the largest bank in the world, JP Morgan, last year they launched their own cryptocurrency, the JMB coin. And we are seeing all the countries around the world, all the major central banks are piloting their CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. I know we may have some people here on the call from the Caribbean. It's happening in the small nation states as well. The EC dollar, the EC central bank, they're piloting their digital currency. Jamaica just released their central bank just released their digital currency, and the Central Bank of Barbados released a infrastructure of a digital payment system to accommodate the unbanked. My point is the entire world is shaping itself for a new reality of how finance is going to work. And with that comes a new level of governance and regulating oversight that we're seeing shaping the world. What is shaping this is also new technology, or I shouldn't call it new, blockchain technology and blockchain infrastructure is redefining how the world is going to function. The very way how the internet has redefined how the world functions today. Can you imagine the world functioning without internet? What would happen? Well, blockchain technology is the new layer of value that is being embedded into the internet to create what is called Web3. And just like the world can't function without the internet, we are in an era now that's evolving to where the world will not be able to function without blockchain technology. We know blockchain starting with Bitcoin back in years ago, but blockchain technology has evolved to where all businesses around the world are now migrating to it because it gives advantages that was not available before. Blockchain is a decentralized environment, and that's what's changing the game. Because decentralized means there is no central authority in many aspects across the landscape, which now gives us, you and I, access to what was not available before. So with decentralized environment comes DeFi or decentralized finance, which is where digital currencies come in. And with that, it also comes access to real world assets. It's a concept called tokenization. And don't get caught up on everything now. You're going to hear about it. Tokenization is the engine that's now driving the global financial landscape. It is redefining how everything is going to work across all the financial markets. The authorities that B says in the next 3 to 5 years, all assets that you will find on the financial markets and around the world is going to be tokenized. I'm painting for us a picture for us to understand we are evolving into a very different world, and we have to posture ourselves in order to know that, especially since it's in the early stages of evolution, where we can be able to secure our financial future. Because, ladies and gentlemen, what is going to be available for us in these early stages, it will not be available in the same way some years from now. The other thing that comes to us is community, people empowered growth. Because of access and because of decentralization, we now have access to ownership of things. We now have access to financial tools and the wherewithal that we never had before. So, for example, ownership of assets are now available to anyone because of tokenization and because of decentralization. Anyone can own assets. Like what? Like gold, silver, bonds, stock, commodities, things that were once out of reach are now accessible to us. This is what we need to begin looking at because we must understand that without ownership of assets and without money working for us, it is impossible to have the control and secure your financial future. And we are living in a time where more and more of us need to come to that place. But because of ownership, we can now access and earn passive income, and it can happen daily and it can happen for life. We get to decide how much that income can be. We get to determine how sustainable it could become. Ladies and gentlemen, never before in the history of mankind have did the average person like you and I have the autonomy to be able to have this level of control over our financial future. It was never available until today. How is that possible? Because of technology. What does that mean? It means that we now have an opportunity where we could actually build true generational wealth. The scripture says a good man leaves an inheritance for his children. That is now more possible than it has ever been in the history of mankind that I know of. Metaterra and Bellator harnesses these very same five aspects within their ecosystem. As we begin to participate in it, we can now access all of this through the miracle ecosystem. So, my question for you is this: if your income was truly in your control, how would you begin to plan your future differently? And I want you to think about that because this is the reality that's facing us right now. I've said some things. Now, I'm going to break it down now so that we can understand how this works. If we are going to design and build and secure our financial future, if it is that we can actually have control and autonomy and sovereignty over our finances, and we need to know that Metaterra and Bellator, we need to be confident that they are strong enough and sustainable enough that we can have the confidence and depend that they can actually provide that way for us with what they're offering to the world. So let's take a look at that. Metaterra Holdings Inc. is built on a solid foundation. Its infrastructure and systems that it's bringing to the world, it took them 8 going on to 9 years to build what we have today. We are a publicly traded NASDAQ listed company, having met all the requirements that needed to be met. And there are very stringent requirements. If you don't know, look it up and see what is required to be a publicly traded company. All we're waiting on is for the final stamp, which was delayed because of the recent government shutdown here in the US. But being a publicly traded company, first of all, says that our company is compliant, they're accountable, and they're trustworthy because they must make their operations an open book for the public to be able to see. So we have corporate governance, strategic oversight. We are completely transparent. Our global footprint takes us across 13 countries where we have logistic offices. As a publicly traded company, it is also required that the executive branch all be put under scrutiny and be accountable for the functioning of the company. And so it's important to know who's leading this ship. Hakan Turhan is the visionary, the CEO, and the founder, and his background comes out of financial technology. He's a blockchain strategist. His whole career started in the legal affairs. And he is who crystallized the vision back in 2017 and built it to where it is today with partners along the way, like Mr. Michael Thierd. Mr. Michael Thierd joined Hakan along the way bought into his vision, and for the last few years, they've been building together. His expertise is forging international connections and global expansion, and he heads as the CEO of Bellator Life. What they have built and created in preparation for this time that the world is entering into attracted the attention of Mr. Douglas Anderson, who sits as our chairman and a partner with the company. Mr. Douglas Anderson is an icon on Wall Street. His company, the Wall Street Capital Partners, which is almost 30 years. His company has brought some of the largest companies in the world to public offering. He is well known across the United States and the world in the arena of banking and high finance. He is now a partner with our company, and he brought with him Mr. Stephen Norris. People may know his name. He is the founder and CEO of Cedar Capital. He's also the founder of the Carlyle Group, which is a large asset management company. People would know that name. His expertise go back into bringing some of the Fortune 500 companies to where they are today. He's also advisor to some governments like the King of Saudi Arabia. So he has both of these gentlemen are almost institutions in and of themselves of what they've built over the years. And they're joined with Mr. Russ Gerson of the Gerson Group. His expertise is strategic investment banking. He was the vice chairman of one of the largest banking institutions here in the US, Citigroup. And so these are people that have decades of experience and expertise within the field of finance. They are supported by a world-class advisory board with people like Stephen Moore, who is perhaps one of the world's foremost economists. People in the United States may know his face or his name because he's often on national TV when it's dealing with the national economy. He's often the go-to for the information and for the whole strategies of things. He's the gentleman that the first Trump administration had appointed him to chair the Federal Reserve, which he declined because he wanted to stay in private office. People also may know the name John Bear. He's a technology mogul, his technology infrastructure. These are all very wealthy entrepreneurs in and of themselves. Cell phone technology began with John Bear. The Widevine, which he founded, which built the technology that Google that runs on now. Streaming technology, he's the architect and set the global standards for streaming technology that's used by Netflix and so on. Monica Profit, she wrote the book Blockchain 101. Fernando Vildasola, Paul Randall, our company has very strong foresight of leaders that's taken this, and we have a very strong foundation. This is important because if we're going to be talking about building a financial future, we need to have the confidence that the company that's bringing the wherewithal to the public on a global scale is one that can actually facilitate that. They have brought together what we call the architecture of value, with Metaterra as the parent, Bellator as the agency that brings it to the world, and Miracle Technology is the technology infrastructure that has built this architecture over the last 8 years. This is a revenue sharing economic environment where participation, ownership, and expertise come together, creating value that continuously circulates and flows. This is the first economic environment within the decentralized financial world of its kind. The Miracle ecosystem is a group of interconnected companies across connected platforms that combine blockchain, payment, digital assets, AI, and financial tools into a unified system. It is a decentralized digital economy that combines a banking infrastructure, financial infrastructure, and commerce. all within one environment. We are the only crypto blockchain infrastructure with a core banking switch. That's important, an important distinction because when value flows through this economy, how that flows through all the sectors and how it is governed, it needs to be done, and bearing in mind it's happening on a global scale. It has to have the technology to be able to do that seamlessly. The only other institutions that carry a core banking switch are tier one type banks, like central banks or big conglomerates like JP Morgan and so on. This is the architecture of value that constitutes the miracle ecosystem. Each one of those sectors pertains to um, a service that is provided within the fintech world, and they all can represent different streams of income. Now, this architecture of value is an ownership based ecosystem, meaning that the infrastructure that runs this, being a decentralized system, meaning no having not a central authority within it, and within the architecture, it is owned by people all over the world. We're going to get to understand in a short while how that pertains to you and I and how it fits together. But I want you to imagine for a minute that you own systems, assets, and part of the infrastructure of this global economy. And everything that happens within every sector, all the value that moves, every transaction that happens within every sector, you are actually earning value from it. So, for example, we have payment system. It's called Miracle Pay, where people pay for everyday goods and services using their debit cards or their credit cards. And so I want you to imagine every time you use your debit card, you actually are going to get, you're not just paying for something, but you're going to get paid for using your card. Everybody you know that uses their debit card within the crypto world, they're going to receive, you're going to be paid for it. Everyone across 150 countries around the world that uses our Miracle Pay system, you're going to receive value or income for that. The question now is, why would people around the world be using a system to pay with crypto? Because the whole world is evolving into cryptocurrency. Now, yes, we are in the early stages of the evolution, but the entire world, from the governments around the world all the way down, we're all shifting into this new world of digital finance. And one of the things that is needed, this is where this system brings value to the world, is that there are people that are holding trillions of dollars in cryptocurrency. And if they could just have a very free and easy way to be able to transact that. So imagine that you can take cryptocurrency, use a card, or tap your phone, and it is instantly converted into the currency of whatever country you're living in. So, in other words, your cryptocurrency is as usable as regular fiat currency. But imagine that every time that happens, you're going to get paid. Why? Because you own part of the infrastructure that contains this system. Your Miracle Wallet is where you are able to hold all your assets, and you can just like Apple Pay, you can just tap your phone on a point of sale terminal, and you're able to pay. Our Miracle Neo is a fully functioning on-chain IBAN account, which are accounts that traditional banks give. So imagine that you can bridge your traditional banking with digital banking, and you can interface the two of them. And every time transactions happen between them, the fees that normally happen with transactions, you get to earn a part of that. So whether it is credit scoring, whether it is collateralized loans, whether it is our trading platforms, or whether it is our gaming platform or Phoenix Arena, where it has a lot of popular games on it, and gaming is a huge industry. But whatever it is, whatever service, whatever sector is being used, because we are owners of infrastructure, we get to earn from it. And because it is of a global nature, there's stability and there's security there with it. I am going to just highlight these three, the Miracle Chain, Miracle Pay, and EquiToken, three sectors of our platform, of our economy, because of how they pertain, and it will give us an idea for me to show you potentials of how you could actually secure your financial future. So let's look at Miracle Chain first. Miracle Chain is our blockchain platform. We don't use a third-party chain like thousands of other companies around the world. We have our own AI-enhanced Layer 2 blockchain network. It is enterprise ready, meaning it is built for businesses to scale, and it's built for individual participation. This short video gives us an insight to the scope of it.
Welcome to the future of business. Miracle Chain, where blockchain meets automation and AI transforms how companies grow. Imagine onboarding customers with a tap, paying teams worldwide in seconds, and launching token ecosystems without writing a single line of code. With Iterato, your sales force becomes unstoppable. AI handles the follow-up, while gamification drives viral growth. Need to launch your own token? Miracle Launchpad and DEX give you everything: pre-sales, vesting, swaps, and full control. The Miracle Wallet simplifies finance. No seed phrases, just seamless access to crypto. Commissions and payments, secure, compliant, and easy to white label. And at the core, Miracle Chain. A private Layer 2, built for scale, compliance, and automated global payouts. Whether you're selling online or in-store, Miracle Pay bridges fiat and crypto so you can do business anytime, anywhere. Miracle Chain. Powering the digital economy, one smart system at a time.
So with our Miracle Chain, we have businesses that are migrating and coming online, companies that want to tokenize, but we are enterprise ready for that, and we are built for that participation. Now, the global infrastructure of a blockchain network, and this is bringing it home to us now, it is built on central processing units called CPU nodes. These are software licenses, and they validate, record, and secure every transaction across the network. So think of the whole Miracle ecosystem as a digital economy of financial and commerce transactions taking place across the various sectors. What the infrastructure that is running all of that, the whole computing power is done by CPU nodes. That's all of the blockchains as well. And because it's a decentralized environment, these nodes, which is the actual infrastructure, they are owned by tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people all around the world. Therefore, I want us to get the picture. The very infrastructure that's running the system, it's not owned by the principals that own the company, it's owned by individuals all over the world. And so there is a synergy and a partnership between the principals and those of us who are owners of the infrastructure of it. Now, I want us to understand what this is going to mean. I have a short video here of a gentleman, his name is Billy Warmack. He's probably worth looking up on YouTube. He says something in this short that is very relevant to what I'm going to explain to you, to what this means to you and I as node owners, because we get to own the nodes that form the infrastructure that the blockchain is built on. So take a listen.
Did make millions of dollars in crypto, but I don't trade crypto and I don't buy crypto. I make it. So
I don't buy crypto, I don't trade crypto, I make it. So he's saying that his nodes are actually producing the currency.
Started making Bitcoin at $220. That in itself is crazy. So we started mining Bitcoin. We were making a lot of money. We were like, man, if Bitcoin ever gets to $10,000, we're going to be rich. This guy that was mentoring me, he was worth $100 million. I became one of his top guys. And at that time, I didn't know anybody worth that kind of money. It just sounds preposterous to the average person. For the next 7 years, I learned software instead of hardware mining. So when you mine Bitcoin, you have a physical piece of machine. You plug it into the network. It confirms transactions. You make Bitcoin. On the platform that we launched, which was a company called Gala Games, we worked at Snoop, the death row chain that Snoop gave me, kind of crazy. And instead of hardware, we had software. So these software nodes will confirm transactions on the blockchain. Every time you buy something on that blockchain, sell something, move some money back and forth, there's a fee. That fee goes up in the cloud and is split evenly between the node owners. So that very first blockchain that we launched, I only put 15,000 in. And for 2.5 years, those nodes just confirmed transactions. I had about 17 million tokens in my wallet. I watched it go from less than a penny to 5 cents, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 84 cents in a matter of like 5 months. So I went from $11,000 in software nodes to having over 11.4 million liquid currency.
So understand what he's saying is that the nodes that he owns, they are generating these coins or the cryptocurrency, and over a period of time, he collecting or accumulating these coins as the value went up, it translated into a large sum of money. Now, he's talking about software nodes belonging to a platform called Gala Games. Gala Games still exist, and they have their like blockchains. All blockchains have their native token. Our native
Did
token
make
that is native to our chain is called the Phoenix token. I call this is nobody else. I am calling it Bitcoin 2.0. Why? Because the Phoenix token is a utility dense token. It is uniquely positioned to become one of the most utility dense tokens ever created in the crypto world. What I mean by that is that because it is built for real world enterprise, because it is connected to real world transactions, and because it has utility that other cryptocurrencies on the market that are known, they didn't carry that same level of utility. This token, that's one reason why this token is going to escalate in value, I believe, beyond many that's out there now. And you're also going to get a better glimpse of why I say that. But what Billy is talking about, what we have is better. Why? Because the second thing I'm going to talk about is the Miracle Pay. Miracle Pay is connected to the payment system that I mentioned about, which is a revolutionary payment platform that's designed to integrate traditional financial systems and the digital crypto economy, where people can use their phone or crypto-enabled debit cards, and you can pay at a point of sale at these terminals or online. And the system converts over 200 types of cryptos into fiat currency, making cryptocurrencies now a seamless payment. It's fast, it's secure. And how that's happening is because our Miracle Pay software is now integrated into millions of terminals around the world in a very similar way like how Apple Pay is. Those of you who have iPhones may know what I'm talking about. This short video gives us a little bit of insight to that.
You've probably heard the saying, if only I were early. Early to Bitcoin, early to Amazon, early to Tesla. Well, here it is again. But this time, it's not about hype. It's about owning the rails of a new financial system. Introducing CPU nodes, digital assets that earn daily from real crypto transactions happening worldwide. Every time someone pays with crypto, in-store or online, a small fee powers the network. And if you own a node, you get paid. These nodes are already paying every single day in a digital currency undervalued today, but set to explode in the months ahead. We've secured contracts with 4 global terminal providers, giving us access to over 100 million active merchants. And we're also integrated with major online retailers, processing billions each month. When even a small percentage of that volume transacts in crypto, node rewards skyrocket. The system is active. Payouts have begun. We're funding our aggressive expansion, not with Wall Street, but with everyday people like you. Together, we're decentralizing wealth. By owning the new infrastructure of money, timing is everything. Own a node now and earn every day for life.
Now, why I say that what we have is even better than what Billy was talking about with the Gala Games is because our nodes, when you own a node, not only is it producing the currency for you, similar to what Billy talked about, but it's attached to a global payment system. So that's far better. And here's what we have available to us. The four major terminal providers are Ingenico, Pax, Verifone, and NCR. And online, we are integrated with Shopify, and there are others that's going to be coming on. When you go into a store, a supermarket, a restaurant, wherever, and you're inserting your card or swiping your card or tapping your phone, look at the name on the terminals. It's not owned by the banks. It's not owned by Visa or MasterCard. It's owned by these payment providers that provides the facility for the institutions to be able to have that payment system. Our Miracle Pay software is now integrated into these four major terminals, and they account for over 160 million active merchants in over 150 countries. So here it is that we have an ecosystem that has a payment system that is at a time now where the world is integrating digital and cryptocurrencies, which is now legal tender. And there's this global system now that makes it available where people can start utilizing their cryptocurrency. And because it's instantly converted into the currency of whatever country, it's now usable. Now, these four payment providers, based on current statistics, they process between 900 billion and 1.3 trillion in transactions daily. And I say that because I want to use that as a reference when I talk about owning your node asset. Now, we have several types of node assets, but this node asset, the Miracle Pay node, is connected to the digital payment systems. And so there are two things I'm going to talk about regarding that. When you own any node, you are actually owning the digital real estate that comprises the blockchain network that connects the entire ecosystem that makes everything run. If we can just capture what I just said, we are owners of the infrastructure and of assets. So two things. I'm going to start with number two, the CPU node. It produces about 80 Phoenix token a day. And so the first thing I want us to bear in mind is you're building something for your future. You are building something that you can design your financial future. And so the first aspect of it is with the currency that your node is producing. We call this the early adoption advantage, because a time will come as the token increases in value, the higher the value gets, this advantage is going to go away. The early adoption advantages, which is the same as what Billy talked about, our node is producing 80 Phoenix a day. And so set a plan where for the next 24 to 36 months, 36 months is a short time. The year just started and 3 months is gone, 4 months is gone already. 36 months will go just like that. And you're building something that's going to be sustainable for the rest of your life. I won't be able to go into all those details now to show you how, but I want to give you a glimpse of that. Now, 80 Phoenix token a day, just to do a quick calculation, 80 multiplied by 365, which is 29,200. And if we were to do that for over, say, a period of 3 years, that's 87,600 tokens. And if the value only went up to $1, that's $87,600. But let's say in 3 years, it went up to, and I'm being conservative when I say this, let's say in 3 years, when you look at how the other cryptocurrencies have gained their value and in the space of time they've done that, I'm going to be very conservative and say, let's say it only went to $20 in value within 3 years. You're talking about almost $2 million that you would have accumulated within that period of time. Now, what you do with that $2 million is what will determine how you're going to be able to position yourself for the rest of your life. And we have strategies that we will teach to people of how you, it's not just earning that, it's what do you do with it now to make sure you clear all your debts and set things in such a way that it will last you for years to come. Now, that's part one. That's laying your foundation. That's setting things in order. But here's more. Your node, because it's connected to a global payment system, there's passive income that's coming in daily. I'm going to just be conservative again and say that out of the 160 million merchants, let's take 5% of 100 million merchants, which is 500 million merchants. And this is only talking about in store. We're not talking about online sales, just in store transactions. Now, we're going to be conservative again and say that each merchant is going to do $300 daily in crypto transactions. That's $1.5 billion in transactions. And based on their current level of transactions, it accounts for less than 1% of what these merchants are doing. So that's quite conservative. Miracle Pay has a transaction fee of 2%. 2% of 1.5 billion is $30 million a day that Miracle Pay will receive in fees. The node owners get between 10 to 30% of transaction fees, and I'm going to take the lower end of 10% of the 30 million, which is 3 million a day in transaction fees. 20% of those fees, 20% of the 3 million, which is 600,000, it goes to the community network. Again, this is part of how the value flows to those that are participating. So we'll take that 600,000 from the 3 million, we have 2,400. That is shared between the CPU node owners. This particular node will only have 210,000 nodes available. I cannot say how many are remaining of those nodes. These nodes were being sold for a little bit more than a year. I wouldn't know the number on that. But when you divide that 2.4 million into the 210,000, it's $11.43 a day, which may sound like nothing. But that is easily $300 a month in passive income. Remember, you would have your node creates the currency, and it creates the currency in perpetuity. It will do it for life. It never stops producing the currency. The rate at which it might produce may change over time, but it never stops producing it. You always will keep earning income. Now, what happens if during your building phase in 36 months, let's say, this became 10% or 15% adoption of our system globally, an extra 1,000 or extra 12 or 15,000 a year. And then what if you own 2 or 3 nodes? Like Billy did, but Billy owned multiple nodes. So what I'm trying to show us is that the potential is for us that continuously, daily, in perpetuity, this income keeps coming. What can we do with that? How can we manage that? How can we transform our future with just, this is one single node of one of the systems within the ecosystem. Do you understand what I'm saying? What is the cost of this node? It's $1,200. A one-time fee of 1,200 that doesn't have any activation fees, maintenance fees, annual fees, anything attached to it. It's a one-time purchase where you own the asset and it's recorded on the blockchain, which means it's immutable. It doesn't change. You own this for life and it will continue to pay you for life. What can you do with that? Now, finally, our equity token. This is where tokenization comes in. And this is what I said earlier, this is the engine that's redefining the entire financial global landscape. Everything is being tokenized, and when you do your own due diligence, you'll see that. And tokenization simply is taking all tangible real world assets, property, gold, silver, stocks, bonds, equities, and they're being converted into digital forms, and they're in fractional units where you can just purchase a fractional unit of a property, of an equity, of a stock, things that were once out of reach. You can now, that might have cost, say, $1,000. Maybe you can buy a fraction of it for just $100 or a couple $100. But it now makes digital asset ownership, or the ownership of real world assets, it's now become possible. So we're not only owning infrastructure assets that runs the ecosystem, we actually can own assets of property and stocks, bonds, and whatever we so choose for anything around the world. When you think about the value of what that can mean. Now, there's another node that you can own, which would represent another stream of income. This is called the Project X node, which earns about 200 Phoenix a day, more than what the CPU node would do. And on all tokenized projects that our company is tokenizing all around the world in perpetuity, there's an annual dividend of 6% on all tokenized projects that we get, and we get that for the life that this company exists. Right now, our company is tokenizing 3 of the largest tokenized projects in the world, in Africa, in Saudi Arabia, and in Romania. And you can get the information on that. So as I come down to a close, I just want to share this short clip from our chairman, who's doing an interview on the NASDAQ, and he says a couple of things. I'm going to just share the first 2 minutes of it, where he says a couple of important things about our company.
I'm with the CEO of Wall Street Capital, Doug Anderson. Doug, welcome back. And I understand you have some news to break.
Yeah, it's very exciting. You know, Wall Street Capital Partners has been around almost 30 years now. And I can't think of a better place and a better person to announce this news to. It's very exciting, a first in our history. But we have opened a new subsidiary, Wall Street Capital Partners Asset Strategies. And this new subsidiary is majority owned by Metaterra Holdings, which is associated with another company, which we know is Miracle Pay and Miracle Chain. Now, what does Miracle Pay, what are they known for? As I've explained before on this program, they are experts and leaders at payment systems for crypto. So using your wallet, paying with your phone, transactionally from POS machines and over the internet. So they're the leaders in that. There's another thing they do. They do tokenization. So they're experts at that. And as you know, we're now working focused on tokenizing one of the largest real-world assets in the world, which is an airport in Bucharest. We're working hard at that. But there's another one that may even eclipse that, which is we're going to announce right now. It's very exciting. It's called a Tinu token, after the founder of a very strong, probably one of the fastest growing companies in Africa that's very successful, an oil and gas company called Owando. And its founder and chairman and group leader is Wale Tinubu. So Tinubu token. And what this token represents is an African fund. We're tokenizing an African fund that is going to be backed by very substantial real world assets out of Africa. And the first that is going to be inside that fund is we're going to start with $200 million worth of oil reserves from Owando. Mr. Tinubu has decided to move forward on putting those assets into this fund, and it'll be followed by about $1 billion in oil reserves. Now, this will be the first token of its kind.
I'm just going to stop that right there. You can catch the full video on Metaterra's YouTube channel. The first token of its type is going to be a stable coin that's backed by real world assets. Launchpad is the part of our platform that does this, and there's a lot of people, a lot of companies that are going to be looking to do exactly this. Right now, Walmart, the largest retailer in the world, Amazon, these companies are already investigating and exploring creating their own tokens as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I've been sharing with you is that we are evolving into a very different world. And between now and, say, the next few short years, say 2030, we are going to be living in a very different world that's going to be functioning very differently. But when it comes to finance, when it comes to money, which is the lifeblood that flows through society, if we don't begin to position ourselves now in this new evolutionary phase, we can find ourselves lost in it, because this is a world that's going to be functioning very differently. And the internet is going to change. A lot of things are changing. With Metaterra, not only do we enter into an ecosystem economy that is ownership based, where we get to own assets and infrastructure, where we get to earn passively, daily, annually, in perpetuity, in a way that has never been possible before. We can now get to start rethinking. We can now start designing. We can now start opening up that dark corner of our dreams that we had closed some time ago because of the limitations around us. We can begin to dream again. And so what I've shared with us is an economic reality that we can all move into. The node assets that we have available to us now are these 4 node assets. There is the farm node, there is the Miracle Pay node I mentioned, there is the Project X node I mentioned, and there is the Guardian node, which is perhaps the king of all the nodes right now. The Project X node is normally $1,600. It's currently $1,300, and that reduced price is going to last until Saturday come in. And there is a special offer that is our pre-IPO packages, where you can buy 1, get 1, buy 3, get 3 of the farm nodes. And these, the starter package, the builder package, and the elite infrastructure package, these are some of the best value that I've seen that the company has offered. And these are going to go away, I think, on Thursday. These will no longer exist. And where you can get 2 Miracle Pay nodes and 3 Project X nodes. If you look at the value, you can multiply that, and you're going to get that for $3,000, which is like at least a 50% savings. And between these represent 2 different streams of income that can produce for us at least about 25,000 tokens a month. Now, just to think about, what if the token was just $1 in value, what that could mean. The builder package is 3 CPU nodes, 3 Project X node, and 1 Guardian node. That's 5,500, and the Elite Infrastructure package is 9,000. These are huge savings of what we can own, and we own for life, and what they will produce for us, we can truly begin to design our financial future. What I want to say also, ladies and gentlemen, is what I shared with us is just a small segment that represents our ecosystem. The Miracle ecosystem is a very robust and vast ecosystem that covers multiple sectors that affords us the opportunity to not just create value and own, but to be able to leverage within the system using resources and the system for us to be able to compound through the very adoption of this system as it grows globally. And with the leadership that we have, we already see where it's going. And so my invitation to you tonight is to consider what you've seen and think about it. You were invited to view this tonight by one of our partners, and we call it peer-to-peer value sharing network. When people hear the word network or network marketing, and this is not your traditional network marketing, people begin to cringe and say, oh, it's one of those things. Networking is the most natural thing that we all do. Anytime we find something of value, what do? We tell someone about it. We share it with other people. It's the natural thing. What has happened, the concept of networking is a brilliant way to be able to build and expand anything. What has happened is that the way how it might have been promoted or used, false promises, etc., has given the concept itself is not the issue. It's what people think about that concept. But with Bellator Life, we call it Aladdin, AI leveraged, asset driven digital income network. This doesn't have all the friction that goes along with traditional networking, where you have to be going after monthly sales in order to earn, or you have to constantly be recruiting people in order to increase your income. You have to have monthly auto ships in order to qualify, and so on. This doesn't have those type of frictions in it, because our income is driven by the assets that we own and how we leverage the system. So the peer-to-peer value sharing network is completely optional, and it gives us 5 optional streams of digital income, where, as I mentioned earlier when I was going through the figures, 20% of the node earnings go into the community to help to pay these commissions, and 50% of service fees. And so when people say, well, if there's no monthly sales and no constant recruiting, where's the revenue coming from to pay the commissions? It comes from the economy. It comes from the ecosystem itself. It comes from a circulating value system that circulates the value, that those who are expanding the economy, those who are inviting people to participate. This is not inviting you to join and build a business per se. This is inviting you to participate in the new economy that is going to give us all an opportunity to change and transform our financial futures because of how it's built. It's an ownership-based system that you may decide to just be completely passive and let your assets work for you. That's fine. But those of us, when you find something extraordinary and you see how it's working, you will share it with others. And that's what we do. And for those who may be of the unbanked or underbanked, or those who may be trying to get themselves off the ground, Bellator offers free registration. You can have your website and your entire suite in your back office, all that just for free, where you can learn about it. And you can learn and earn. So from a farm node, which is small, or if you learn about the ecosystem and you promote it and you share its value with others, and 4 people become partners, you get to earn your asset, and so you can earn your way in, and you begin to scale from there. And so wherever it fits you, but there's no system that exists today that I know of that gives the average person an opportunity where they can actually access those 5 laws and step into to move from a plantation economy access the sovereign economy and evolve into this ecosystem economy. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to take the privilege and the honor to welcome you to be part of the Miracle ecosystem, to be part of the Bellator community, because Bellator Life is the gateway under Metaterra of how we enter the Miracle ecosystem, where we can now migrate from a centralized plantation economy where we don't have that freedom to a community ownership based economy where we have more sovereignty and financial control. So join us, join the revolution where ownership, technology, and people come together for shared prosperity. And this is the new economy that's redefining how things are going to work in the future. With that, I want to say thank you for taking the time for being on the call tonight. Thank you for giving me your attention. I hope that you heard something that's going to stir you sufficiently for you to be able to begin to rethink your position where you are and the possibilities that exist ahead of you. And so I'm going to leave you with our Metaterra anthem as we exit, and you can speak to the person, the partner that invited you to get this information, and they'll be able to guide you as to how you can move forward from here. So with that, God bless you. Thank you as I leave you with our anthem.
Building a world on the chain. Turning the future from cold to flame. Trust in the block, trust in the plan. Metaterra, here we stand. Metaterra, light the way. New tomorrow starts today. From the dust we rise again. Metaterra, we believe we win. Every transaction, every line, carving a path through space and time. From local dreams to global skies, Metaterra, we realize. Metaterra, light the way. New tomorrow starts today. From the dust we rise again. Metaterra, we believe we win. Dreams in motion, bold and clear. The future's calling, we are near. Hand in hand across the chain. Together we'll rise, together we'll gain. Metaterra, light the way. New tomorrow starts today. From the dust we rise again. Metaterra, we believe we win. Metaterra, light the way. New tomorrow starts today. From the dust we rise again. Metaterra, we believe we win. New tomorrow starts today. We believe we win. Light the way. Our tomorrow starts today. Oh, Metaterra, we believe.